just for anyone who's taking a look at this Unleashed event and maybe, yeah, kind of having some trouble with it, you get the free trial of the Porsche 911 GT2 RS. That was a car from a Grand Prix a while ago, and realistically the car kind of sucks a small bit. If you have it just even at the low star rating, you know, it's quite bouncy. And the bad thing with this car is that the tail end of it gets stuck in everything. When I say get stuck, sometimes it'll clip off things and have really, really weird interactions physics-wise. Other times, the tail can actually go out of bounds on certain maps when you're going slightly close to a wall and just reset the car instantly. So it's definitely not one I've ever been too keen on. Now, if you haven't unlocked the key for it already, you might notice that you can earn the key here in the Unleashed portion of this. But do watch those star gates. So you need to have the car all the way to the 6th star before you can unlock it. So it doesn't matter if you do this race and get a time of like 1 minute even with this. You won't be rewarded that key if you haven't got the cars at 6 stars. So really, 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 you have to be ultra careful with this. That's why this event says free trial here. But yeah, it is just a case of like, you have the chance to get the key from this. However, you really, really need to have the car all the way at 6 stars to be able to do it. And yeah, like the time for this wouldn't be that much of a bother in the slightest. So again, you don't really have a chance to get the key from this unless you're spending absolutely tons and tons and tons of tokens on this, because realistically, like, getting this car all the way up to 6 stars is a literal nightmare. Coming out of the Grand Prix, I had it at 3 stars, and yeah, using this so far for a small bit of farming here, I've gotten it nearly up to that 4th star. But also, the other thing with this is definitely one for the kind of high spenders a small bit in the game. So outside of the Aventador SV Coupe, none of these cars are really that freely available. Maybe you could say the Ferrari 812 Superfast, slightly if you've got a high enough garage level. The Jaguar CX-75 at 3 stars, that's genuinely, like, that's a high cost car from one of the previous seasons. And the other one here, yeah, the Chevrolet ZR1, needed at the 3 star rating to even compete with this. Definitely high cost on being able to compete to even get blueprints for this. And yeah, like, if you don't have the key, the blueprints are worthless. If you're farming these blueprints, they're not even enough to kind of bring you anywhere close to the key from it. So I'd be very, very cautious with this and just make sure you farm it out for as many tokens as possible. So obviously free trial for the 1st and 2nd stages, and it is a free trial, but the car isn't regulated. But that said, like, my 3 star version of this, just on the verge of the 4 star, just to take a run through this one. And like, it's a strange race because they made this slipstream, but you're definitely not going to get too much use out of the slipstream because you will just shoot in front of those AI almost immediately, hopefully. Yeah, but like, what I'll do here is a run of this, and like, my 3 star version has a time there is nearly 8 seconds safe of the actual requirement. And then I'll give one blast through with each of the cars as well in that Unleashed section, because I have access to all of those. My ZR1 currently isn't drivable, but I'll go through that when I take one look at the Unleashed. And like I said, I'll give a blast through. I'll put tags down below as well for all of those races. My Jaguar CX-75 is the absolutely lowest tuned one currently, where it's absolutely on the limit of being even allowed in that race because it's at 3 stars, not fully tuned up. This 911 GT2 though, it's so weird in my opinion. Fill up nitro here because you need to shockwave coming out of this ramp if you want to stay in front of the AI. So always make sure here to keep that shockwave and try and make sure your wheels are on the ground as well for it, because it is possible to shockwave with the wheels slightly off the road there. You won't actually get that much speed at all out of it, and try and avoid turning as you unleash the shockwave. Into a blue state going across here, just hang left, and yeah, I'm just gonna do it nice and cool across here, because like I said, this car's physics tends to get super bouncy. Just drift out towards the barrel roll just over there, and yeah, like 111.2. So 8 seconds to spare over the time requirements, and I know the fact that that's a 3-star version of this car, but realistically it ain't much better at 3 stars than it is at 1 stars. But that's the last farm for me. Complete. Get the tokens out of this one at the very least. Like, it's definitely that's the thing you should always be doing with these Unleashed trials, and you'll get 5 blueprints out of it from just finishing the race. So just give it a practice every now and again. It only takes 5 tickets to actually have a few blasts at this race, and yeah, definitely if you can pull out any times, yeah, you're getting some tokens from that. So a nice enough amount of tokens is all from the first portion of it. The Unleashed though, say, and we start with, yeah, the Jaguar CX-75, and by far my lowest tuned one of these cars. Just like I said, it's not even maxed out for that 3rd star. Didn't bother with the handling, but as long as it's over 3.1k, you're fine being able to take it into this. And yeah, like, again with this track, there's one portion where you can hit some nasty slowdown, but that's the case always kind of with Osaka. You have to just kind of grin and bear it and hope for the best. This Jaguar though, it isn't bad when it comes to the actual like speed stat of it. It's just weird the way it kind of like, yeah, it isn't exactly that nimble on the track for sure. Just pick up near miss bonuses here from the cars at the start, especially needed on the lower tuned versions. You're just going to drift for most of this, so just tapping the accelerator every now and again, but just leaving the car in a drift state just so that you have the shockwave for here. Then drift through those nitro balls and try and avoid touching the left wall, because your car will kind of stick onto it a small bit if you do touch it, and it'll run you into that parked car at the end. So yeah, you can just ski along here, go a small bit wide on that corner because there's a patch of footpath on the left hand side that you'll get like a massive speed reduction if you go over. Same here, trying to stick right down the middle. Just watch out when you're coming through this area here. You really need to watch out on the map a small bit. Just see if there's an AI potentially coming from the back left hand side, like, because they will hit into you and drive you into that pillar in the center. So if you can see the dots on the radar closing in on where you are, especially from the left hand side, grind against the left hand wall here and you won't get like smashed into that middle pillar. Coming out of here, need some blue nitro small bit to get across that footpath. Just really have to be careful on all this area just to avoid riding up onto the footpath on either side, because it will bring you straight down to 150 or so miles an hour if you're using the miles per hour as opposed to kilometers. Slowing down a small bit here, just want to bring the car under 200 so that it can make that last hop without skidding over and just getting walled. Yeah, what's that? 115 with, like I said, that's a car that's absolutely on the verge of yeah, the tuning requirements for this. So still 5 seconds to spare if you have yourself a Jaguar at 3 stars. I mean, that car was really, really costly though from the previous season. So again, I think if you've got that car, you're probably going to be able to pull this one off. It's just a case of needing to be well careful of the AI on places. Now, next one up here, I can give myself a bit of a break, is the Lamborghini SV Coupe. And this is the one that's like freely available in loads and loads of car hunts and stuff. So it's definitely, if you haven't got this, I wouldn't be complaining too much about missing out on some blueprints for the 911 GT2, because this car is one of the very base ones. Like I said, it's gotten loads of car hunts. Like it gets a car hunt every about 3 to 4 months or so. So like it's really quite freely available. Great car though, and at gold it's good fun. Just at least with this you can kind of freely get a blueprint from this, but I'll put in as fast a run as possible. It's 3600 rating at gold, and yeah, definitely take the same path more or less exactly. It's just that bit easier to get the drift to nitro than the Jaguar is. Just watching out again there for AI, and just really have to be careful not to touch that left wall here, because it'll completely mess up the angle that you're going around. If you've done it one time and you've drifted into that left wall, you know what I mean by the fact that the car does get stuck in it, And there's the patch of footpath that I'm talking about. As you come in here, if you nitro across it, it's not too bad. If you just drive across that completely without taking notice of it, this portion of footpath here directly in front, I find it easier with some cars to drift out around it. The line I'm taking here, I'm likely going to go into it a bit, but I'll just punch imperfect nitro even to keep some of the speed. But yeah, just be aware, if you just drive over that footpath, your car at the other side of it is going to be down around 50 miles per hour. So just barely grazed it there even and lost around 20 miles an hour. As long as you've got enough here to get back to this ramp though. Again, keep an eye on the mini-map here. Watch on the left-hand side. No AI there, so safe out to, just try and stick as close to the footpath as possible to pick up the yellow nitro, but avoiding, obviously, just running the wheels onto it, because, you lose immediately about 50 miles an hour. Now here, I'm going to slow down deliberately using 360s just to burn off some of that speed, get the third ramp nice and easy, and then just shoot straight for the finish line. Shockwave would have been nicer there, but can't have it all. 113 with that car. So again, that's a gold version of that, so it's quite over the tuning, but still 8 seconds to spare there. Hopefully some tips, get yourself a blueprint. If you have it at 3 stars, just tune that up. And definitely, like, even if you don't get the key for this, I'd always encourage players to try and bag as many blueprints as they can from any event that's available. You never know when there'll be a case down the line where an event might repeat, or you might get an access to the blueprint again. Now, Ferrari 812 Superfast though, and this was a car I had golded because I was getting ready for the Ferrari season. Oh well, that one got sidelined for a bit. But yeah, this car at the tuning it currently is, I think, is probably my highest tuned out of all of these. Crazy wide car, not suited to this type of track at all, but you know, it's very powerful, and I've got so much leeway here with this one. This is just kind of a free blueprint. It's going to do the same again with this one. Fairly heavy car, but just once you don't get locked up too much in traffic, it's fairly handy. Just pick up the near miss if possible. No, I think the AI crashed into it just before I got into where you get that near miss bonus. Shockwave here, and again towards the straight, and just drift immediately before those things. Oi, that's the railing that I was talking about. Not too costly with this golded out 812, but that hitting the railing like that will just lock you into place in it, and you do just have to pretty much nitro the parked car out of the way if it happens to you, because it's very difficult to get the car dislodged from the wall. Blue nitro there while I lazily just grind some wall with this, because the car is completely overtuned. At gold, this thing is just trivial to get it. I'd say even here I'd be able to wreck and still pick up the time and blueprint from this. So it is just completely, like I said, trivial. Just gonna 360 again, see if I can lose some of that speed. Nope, not enough to safely do the third jump, so I just opt to go right instead, shoot for the finish line. Small bit longer, but again with a gold car, it's just, you have to make that judge yourself. If you haven't gotten down to the 200 miles an hour before that third skip, just bail, go to the right hand side. It's slightly slower, like I said, but you do have, it's faster than a wreck, but it's slower than kind of getting the timing for it right. When you're 360ing as well, when you hit those ramps, they give you kind of like a bit more leeway. You're more likely to get the bounce out of a ramp, but what's that, 112, 9 seconds to spare. That's just down to the car being golded. That the 812 really does actually get quite fast. Not sure about super fast when it's at the higher tuned. There's my 4th star for that car. But in the meantime, speaking of stars, beat 120 in the Corvette ZR1. And the reason that I haven't done anything with this yet is that's my Corvette sitting in this star up ready state. But I have no real need of keeping it under mothballs for the time being, so I can just star that guy up, and I can use it for some more blueprints in this 4-star ZR1. Now, while that is the 4th star, I'm not going to put any tuning on it. I'm just going to bring it straight in, so it's still technically at exactly on the 3-star rating. This track though, yeah, this is a track that I've raced multiple times with this car already, because you need to use a ZR1 to get the, I think was it the Egoista blueprints from the daily set of events. So this track I've raced from the time I unlocked that ZR1, and now it's just, yeah, it's a kind of muscle memory nearly at it. It's can be quite difficult with a lower star version of this car, but even the 1-star version, I'm not stressing that, can get those Egoista epics from the daily quests where you use the Beast, the CN, and yeah, the Force 1 VLF. Same thing though, just keeping the car in a drifting state for all of that pretty much, and just same here, just drift before the nitro bottles, just making sure just not to touch that left wall. And then you're pretty much free to tear up the track in this one. Cool car, the ZR1. The higher the tuning gets on this again, it's just like, it's not as nimble as something like the Grand Sport, but really it is kind of fun, but only kind of after the 2nd or 3rd star does it start to get like really useful on the track. But I mean, the blueprints for this are an absolute nightmare to get. It's grinding out absolutely tons and tons of multiplayer 1, and even at that, you just have a chance still to get Acura blueprints for it. Speed under 188 here, so I should be safe enough to just 360, flip onto the next one, bring the car out to shockwave towards the finish line. Whoop. Yeah, 115 with that effectively still 3-star version of the Chevy. What did it need? A 120, so 5 seconds to spare there when it's just on that 3-star kind of rating. Let's see, that's, oh, I didn't actually star up the 911. I don't know how much does it cost. It's probably a crazy amount, I would think, for the next star for this one. Let's see the star up ready, and how many blueprints? Wow! See a flash of it there, 59 blueprints, so that's not happening. And wow, if anyone was going for the key, but there we go. 4-star version of this car. Like I said, it's not great. It's a nice to have in the garage, but realistically, like, that tail and the physics of this are just that's the only way I can describe the thing. Let's see, you know, we'll bring this one for a race, and now it's at that 4 stars. However, I'm going to not make any tuning to that and just see at 3 stars, which is what it's still sitting at, would it be possible to get the epic out of that? So 120 here. Would it be possible to get a 116 with a 3-star version of the car? I doubt that somehow, but I'll give it a blast and see what's possible. I love that, getting stuck on the skip button. The UI in this game sometimes. But yeah, I'm gonna leave it at the 3,300. It's allowed to race, so we'll just give it a blast and see, can you get that epic from this at 3 stars? Even though realistically you couldn't get that anyway because of the fact that yeah, it's completely locked behind the Stargate. But I'm just wondering from a point of view of yeah, saving some credits here with this, because if I don't have to tune up a car, I tend not to tune up the cars. Although the contest at the end of this does need it to be as tuned as you can be to get some extra rewards and that, I guess. Just sheer wondering, with a 3-star, would you be able to get the key? You know, if it was possible to. This thing is definitely a little bit more sluggish than the others, even at this 3rd star. But oh, I'm so cautious of that wing on the back of this. Just, I know from the Grand Prix on this stage, having it reset in those 3 jumps towards the end has happened to me so many times. It's just absolutely infuriating. Let's see, the way it drifts even with this, it's so yeah, just the wheels bouncing up straight out of the road. Really, like, this car is just so unpredictable when it comes to how it handles some of the tracks. And like, yeah, that was like it getting thrown up into the air just by a flat piece of road. I've seen far worse happen to this thing, but down here in particular. So 360, and I'm just trying to burn off some speed. Landed that, and over the finish line without drifting out too far. Yeah, so that's the reason why some people are complaining when it comes to the key packs. Because yeah, with a 3-star version of this, I'll nab that epic with ease, and like it would have been able to get that if it wasn't stargated off. It would have been able to get that with 3 seconds to spare, even though it's just 3-star rating. So like if you do power up this car to the 6 stars, getting those Unleashed packs for the key, it's kind of trivial. You will guaranteed be able to get it that way. But again, I would very much not advise anyone to do so. A 6-star Porsche 911 GT2 RS, that's not worth the tokens, especially while you've got currently packs in the store for the Rimac C2. You could not ever advise somebody spend tokens on this while this Rimac is in the store. I mean, the packs for these are 90 tokens to get the blueprints for it, while the Rimac C2 packs are also 90 tokens per blueprint pack. So definitely could not recommend somebody chase down any blueprints for the Porsche while the Rimac is on the table as well. But I need another epic for this. I think I have a lot of epics for that, because I did quite well in the Grand Prix for it. But yeah, I don't think I ever actually got it to the point where I could install those upgrades of the epics. Let's see, import parts. Yeah, so there's 10 epics now sitting there for the 911 GT2 RS. I might be able to put some of them into this at the 4th star, but yep, they're just sitting there for the meantime. 59 blueprints still to bring into the next star. Like I said, that's so not happening for me. Take one look at the contest though and see, with the car still at that 3-star rate, that's quite interesting. So instead of it being a percentage base at the top, that's very weird. Top 1000 racers, top 100 racers, and the top 1. A very different way of doing things. Just some import parts here for the bottom. If you do have access to this car, obviously do what you can, even if it's a 1-star version of the car. Get in the pool, as they say, give this a race or two and just throw yourself in here. The more people who take part in this, the more rewards there are for everyone. However, I think that the number of people who will have this GT2 RS are going to be very low, because again, like I mentioned, packs for the C2 are way more valuable than the key for this one, and like it's just not comparable spending the same amount of tokens on this as you would the C2. Now though, with the 4-star version of this car, I should be able to get access to this reward, which is a nice enough amount of tokens. If I can get to 112 time, there is 500 tokens to be earned there, and what's that add up to? Is that 375? Ooh, maths. But yeah, there's like around 350 or so tokens there as well to be had, and like it's so not going to pay itself back off to try and spend the amount of tokens to get up to this star, the 5th star rating. So I'll give it a blast with my still 3-star tuned version of this car and see if it's possible to like get those tokens back, just so people are aware that if they do get access to the car, how hard is the contest stage for this, because you get back a few tokens at least anyway if you bring it in here. I should have known this car would get me back. Yeah, after going on about its terrible physics, it completely derped into a really bad 360. You really have to watch out in the circuit courses with this car, but definitely like it would be capable of doing this, because I wrecked and still got a 116.029. This mode finale is weird though. In this car in particular, you really have to be careful with it, because this one tends to over rotate a lot and not land like clean on any of the jumps pretty much from this one. I knew it was going to get me back for like ragging on its physics all the time, but mode finale The best place to go with the start here is on the left hand side and 360 imperfect up into the air. The only problem is, like, this car, like I said, I got messed up by it once already, so you really have to be super careful with just not letting it over rotate to the point where it'll end up facing the wall or just exploding into pieces. But yeah, a nice launch like that's handy enough, but oh, so weird when it hits ramps. Open drifting here, just as always, like, avoid the footpaths where you can. Down towards the barrel roll ramp here, and again you just gotta hope this car's physics doesn't do you in. So you have the portion of the track here where you try and hit the ramp on the inside if you can and shoot up and over the multi-story car park into a blue, or way, didn't expect to get the shockwave there, but yeah, you can just make sure you're in a blue nitro state when you're landing down from that multi-story leap, because when you come down the other side of it, you're going to be pretty much facing straight into a pad of footpad area, which will like murder your speed. But yeah, 109.199, and that is with the car still at that just barely tuned up state into the 3 stars. So finish race, get 2-star rewards, the 3-star rewards, and the 4-star rewards. I did not obviously get the 5-star reward, and the 6-star one, it would be doable with the car at 3 stars. So realistically, like, while Mode Finale is a tough course, you've got a lot of leeway on this if you want to get those tokens. So if you are looking at being close to unlocking the car, these final stage rewards are an absolute given, because yeah, my car is just, it's still on the 3-star tuning while it is 4 stars. You can get the 6-star rewards with that car at 3 stars realistically. I mean, you could get, you know, if it wasn't Stargate locked out, but still a nice enough amount of tokens regained from that one. And let's see, it puts me in well, that's weird though. See, that's why this doesn't work, because top 50, top 75 and top 100%, these don't make any sense if it's, you know, top 100 also, or top 1000. You can't really mix these brackets together, because realistically, if there was only 1,000 racers, being 610th would be like a top 75% score and a top 1000. These aren't these can't really exist on the same thing like that. It's like if you gave a score for being like first, second and third, but then also gave, like, on the same grid, said like you would give a score for being like in the top 10 seconds, the top 11 seconds, the top 12 seconds. It's like if everyone does 13 seconds but they're still going to come first, second and third, then you wouldn't even register here. Oh, this is confusing. This kind of a leaderboard, really, it just doesn't work in maths or in leaderboards. It's completely daft. But whatever. Yeah, that's the, like I said, 109.199 done, and yeah, that would have been enough for the 100 tokens. Just obviously the Stargate's going to stop that, and that is the car, yeah, exactly on the 3387, which is the 3-star max tuning. I didn't touch that. There's no editing tricks. But yeah, it's 3600 rating. You'd easily be able to knock out that like 112 time at least, just on Mode Finale. You see there's like a couple of times where I'm just being extra careful with that and not even getting 360s on certain ramps, but it's still very, very possible to get these. So just keep in mind, if you are close to unlocking the car, get those tokens. You should have not too much trouble here on the final stage. Just, yeah, like I said, there's a lot of leeway going with this. If I can remain in the top 1000, yeah, I'll stay at that, because realistically those epic pieces are useless to me. I just have so many of them anyway, so I'm not that pushed by this one. I'll probably just leave that car maybe as is. Might mess around with it a bit, just throwing on the acceleration, just to see if I can like get a small bit more out of that. But realistically, these Unleashed events for me are just get as many blueprints as possible, and yeah, get as many tokens as possible. I've farmed out quite a few more of these in between, but just have one more Superfast Run, one more Aventador SV Coupe to get. Again, it's not going to bring me up to that 5th star for sure. I'm not going to spend a single token on this one because it's a cool looking car, but it's just absolutely like dead in the water. It doesn't compare, in my opinion, to the GT3 RS or effectively any other A-class. Maybe if it was at 6 stars, it might be somewhat decent-ish, but it's not going to be anywhere near as good as like the Genti, for example, even, or the Pagani for sure. So if you've got any of these cars where it should be allowed in here, yeah, like it's well doable with any of these, even fairly undertuned Jaguar, a 3-star version, the ZR1, just yeah, perfectly able to do it as well with a few seconds to spare. And the over-the-top golden SV Coupe and Superfast can do it about 10 seconds nearly to spare to get yourself some blueprints for that. 911 GT2 RS Club Sports. Again, without the key, realistically, I always say with those key packs, they're incredibly risky. It cost me about 4,000 tokens to get the key for the Rimac C2 from those packs. It could be the same for the look in these packs. If you don't have that key though, and you don't have the Rimac, I would definitely advise spending tokens on the Rimac instead of the key packs for this one. If you had the Rimac and you don't have this car, it really does depend. If you've got a lot of tokens hanging around, you could go for this. However, I would probably still go for Rimac packs more so than the key packs for this one, if you were going to spend any tokens at all, just because realistically there are better free options available in the A-class rather than this thing. So yeah, not where I would advise spending tokens, but if you've got some of the cars that can take place here, yeah, definitely have a blast. Get some tokens back, get a few blueprints for it. You don't know when you might get another chance of getting a key outside of this event. But as always guys, sub button up there, other videos here and here, and yeah, drive safe and yeah, have fun with this one. Get some farming tokens back.